Namaskar, good morning, and a very warm welcome once again to the another round of Dekho Apna Desh webinars. I speak to you from Delhi, but today we have exciting round of a second visit to the northeastern part of our country, which is so beautiful, so green, it has so much to it, and that we had to do a second one, and I'm sure we'll be doing a third and a fourth and a fifth one because there are 7 sisters in the northeast, and we will keep bringing you something out of that region. Today, we have 4 speakers, in fact, to talk to us about the northeastern part of region and why it makes all the right senses to go there for tourism. Julie Kakti is going to be speaking from Bengaluru. David Angamani is speaking from Kohima. Devraj Barua is speaking from Jorhat, and Pinso Gyatso is speaking from Sikkim. So viewers, isn't technology so amazing that I am here in Delhi, you all are at various places. We've actually had people logging in from 60 plus different countries around the world, apart from all my fellow citizens, my brothers and sisters from India. And my 4 speakers today are from different parts of India. I think that's the power of technology, and we are glad to be able to bring to you the different aspects of our incredible India. However, this is, as I always say, a frozen platform. It's a virtual platform. We are using this in the period of COVID when we are supposed to do social distancing, not travel as much as we would normally love to. So please use this only as a temporary stopgap arrangement. And as soon as you are traveling back, please do remember to go and visit the beautiful Northeast. I'm not going to take too much time except tell you that today, we're not going to restrict once again to one city or one aspect of Northeast, but we shall be going to Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, and to my all-time favorite, Sikkim. So, Julie, all yours to take us through this webinar of today. Thank you, viewers, for joining us.
Namaskar. I think Dekho Apna Desh is a wonderful platform, and we are very thankful to be a part of it. Without much ado, let me take you to the presentation. In the earlier series of the webinar, the Northeast has been introduced. So I'm going to quickly recap this image for you. There are 8 states that make up the Northeast. Sikkim has been added. Let me move this. I think it's on the way. Yeah. Sikkim was added later on, mainly because of similar geography and tribes that live in that region. There are 9 functioning airports. The railway connectivity is limited. The most destinations are accessible by road, especially to the interior, lovelier villages and the more pristine landscape. The best time to visit is pre and post monsoon. That's in the month of October to April. That's also when the sanctuaries are open, post the monsoon. I'm often asked to describe the Northeast. What makes it so special? You know, what is so exotic? Why is it not known? Who are these tribes? There are lots of questions that people ask me. This happens to me at dinner parties. It's happened to me while once waiting at the reception area in a dentist. You know, in random places, people ask me these things. So to recap it, or to just tell you that it comes down to 3 broad things for me. One is the tribes. Is the largest amount of indigenous communities in the country live here. And the origins of these tribes are from Mongolia, Central China, Burma, Thailand, that region, Tibet. These tribes over centuries have mingled and formed their own identities. You know, their festivals are extremely vibrant, and they've held on to a way of life that forefathers have followed. So there is something there that's wonderful to see, you know, very colorful. The second would be the diverse species of flora and fauna, some of it which are extremely unique and not found in any other part of the world. Third is the beautiful landscape. You can drive for hours, you know, without any human habitation. The amount of water bodies, it's famous for water bodies, from waterfalls to rivers, little streams, lakes, icy peak mountains of the Himalayas, all the way down to the tropical ferns and beyond to mustard fields, rice paddies, rice paddy fields by the river Brahmaputra. These make it special. What is immersive travel? The term is used so often these days. What is it? In the 1980s, it was travel journalists who actually coined the phrase immersive travel, experiential travel, because that's when this whole thing was emerging. It basically means going a step beyond being a spectator tourist in a destination, when you actually immerse and engaged with activities in that destination to whatever your interests are. Yeah. The basic philosophy of it ties in with that of low impact tourism, which is less harm or no harm to the communities or the environment that you're going through. And for immersive travel to really mean something, it needs the active participation of the tribes or the communities that live there. So the Northeast, because of the variety of the geographic location, the varieties of the snow-capped peaks to the tropical plains, the vegetation, the different tribes that live there. So there's a lot that is offered for everybody, from a solo traveler to a family holiday, lots of things. So whether you're interested in sports, it could be polo, golf, trekking, camping, just a picnic by a riverside, cultural immersion, going to villages, immersing in their culture to make paper, incense stick making, to learn about artifacts, homestays, food tours, bicycle rides, walking tours, textile. These are the big things there to do. Yeah. So in today's presentation, we'll be taking you to only a few destinations and activities there. So without much ado, let's move on to Nagaland, and I hand over to David.
Thank you, Julie. Good morning, everyone. My name is David, and today I am going to be speaking on Nagaland, but specifically on Kohima district in Nagaland. Now, Kohima district is one of 11 districts that make up Nagaland. It is home to the Angami tribe, one of 17 recognized tribes of Nagaland. And it is home to the capital of Nagaland, Kohima city. Now, Kohima city is accessible by road from Imphal and Dimapur, and the nearest airport and railway station are in Dimapur. And from Dimapur, it is a 2-hour drive to come up to Kohima. Now, there are 3 destinations that I specifically want to talk about, and these are Zuku Valley, Kigwema village, and the southern Angami village cluster, and obviously the Hornbill Festival. Now, thank you, Julie. So the first destination is Zuku Valley. Zuku Valley is 30 odd kilometers south of Kohima. There are 2 trekking routes to this valley, and the time taken to trek this to Zuku Valley is about 3.5 to 5 hours, depending on which route you take. Now, the first part of the hike is fairly difficult because the terrain is extremely steep. But once you reach the top of the hill and then you walk into the valley, it's a very nice, gentle walk into the valley. And it takes about an hour or so of walking, flat walking to the base camp of the valley. Now, once you reach the base camp, the entire valley opens out to you. And the scene that presents itself to you is something quite magnificent and quite spectacular. You have acres and acres of lush green vegetation as far as the eye can see, and you have very small rivulets and sparkling water that crisscross across the valley, and an occasional cloud that will roll in and roll out. So the scene is quite breathtaking, and for a first timer, it really leaves a very deep impression on you. The valley borders Assam and Nagaland, and it is considered to be the most popular destination in Nagaland, and it is quite an adventure to go up to this valley. Julie, can we have the next slide, please? Right. So the best seasons to go up to the valley are obviously pre-monsoons, just before the rains come in. And during this time, the entire valley is in bloom. You can see the very famous Zuku lily there on the right of your screen. The entire valley is carpeted with wildflowers, and it is a fantastic photo opportunity for amateurs and for professional photographers. And a lot of people visit the valley during this time. Now, post-monsoon is also a good time to go up to the valley. October, November is a fantastic time, as just after the rains, when it is extremely clear, and you get stunning sunrises and sunsets in the valley. And if the night sky is clear, you get spectacular, you can do some fantastic stargazing, spectacular night sky, as you can see in the middle picture. Now, the traffic to Zuku Valley has been increasing quite rapidly over the last few years. So the stakeholders have come together, and they've put in a little bit of checks and balances to protect the valley. Chief among them is a ban on single-use plastic. And secondly, now trekking to the valley requires a guide to be with you, a local guide. This guide will not only guide you, but will also ensure that certain leave no trace policies are followed. And thirdly, camping in the valley has been stopped. One can camp in the surrounding hills and the base camp, but one can't actually go down to the valley to camp. And this has been done to protect the valley and to keep the valley in a pristine condition for the future generations. Julie, can we have the next slide, please? Right, so the next destination is Kigwima village. This village is also in Kohima district. It is about 15 kilometers away from to the south of Kohima. And I used the example of Kigwima village for my village heritage walk. But really, in Nagaland, there are many, many villages that have these heritage village walks. And these are an extremely popular activity in Nagaland. And what does this village heritage walk mean, and what is it all about? Well, it's simply a guided walk through the village, okay? And along the way, the guide will tell the visitors about the history of the village, the social structure of the village, the little quirks of the village, and you get to experience what a Naga village is all about, right? And the visitors that go through this activity get to participate in traditional games, get to participate in traditional activities, a little bit of handicraft making, weaving, traditional song and dances. And at the end of the walk, there's a small meal prepared for the visitors, and they can come and they can, sample traditional Naga food. I know traditional Naga food is extremely spicy and quite an acquired taste. So we always prepare a dal sabji and a rice, just in case people are not very adventurous. But that is what the village experience is all about. Now, in Nagaland, it is extremely important to us. Julie, way back a little bit. In Nagaland, it is extremely important to us to promote our village activities, because the Naga community is built on its villages and its clans, right? And so we feel that it is extremely important to showcase our unique Naga heritage to people who visit us. And secondly, there is a little bit of a monetary benefit to the villagers who take part in these activities. And for them also, it is a way to earn some supplemental income through tourism. And speaking about culture, Julie, can we have the next slide, please? Right, speaking of culture, now Nagaland is known as the land of festivals. We Nagas are extremely fond of our festivals. We have 17 major tribes, many sub-tribes, and every tribe has more than 2 festivals in a year. Yeah. So if cumulatively, we have more than 35 festivals in a year. So what has happened is the government organized a cultural festival called the Hornbill Festival. And through this festival, it enabled all the tribes to come together in one location and to showcase our culture and our rich heritage and our vibrant festivals to people who are coming in to participate. Now, this festival was started in 2000, and over the years, it has become an extremely big festival. It is perhaps the biggest festival in the Northeast with regard to culture. And it is held every year from the 1st of December to the 10th of December in Kisama Heritage Village. And every year it brings in lakhs of visitors during that span of 10 days. So with so many people coming in for the festival, there was a logistic problem with accommodation. Yeah, and so a lot of these small campsites came up around the vicinity of the festival venue, and they provide not only cheap alternate accommodations for budget travelers, but also have a lot of activities like cycling and hiking and trekking for our guests over there. And over the years, we have found that the demand for trekking and hiking have only increased. So many of these campsites like Camp David and Camp Yetika have decided to keep themselves open the entire year. And they organize cultural and adventure activities every month where people, especially locals, can come and participate. The goal ultimately for these campsites are to enable as many people as possible to take part in adventure activities safely and in the right manner, so that we are able to sustain the environment, we are able to protect the environment, and we are also able to provide these guests a very safe environment for them to do these adventure activities. And I think that is it for my presentation. It was a very short presentation, but I do hope that in future you visit the Northeast and you give us the opportunity to host you. And now I hand over the mic to Mr. Devraj Barua, who will be speaking on Arunachal Pradesh. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everyone. My name is Devraj, and I'm going to be talking to you about Arunachal Pradesh, which is the largest state in the Northeast. With more than 70% of the total land area under forest cover, this state is one of the most unexplored states in the entire country. When it comes to diversity, Arunachal is really blessed. By this, I mean an array of landscapes, all sorts of flora and fauna, and even cultural diversity for that matter. That's the people. This one state has 26 major tribes and over 100 sub-tribes, which means every few kilometers that you travel, you'll be chancing across different kinds of food, different attires, different colors, weapons, practices, rituals, and even dialects for that matter. So to come across a new dialect every few kilometers that you go, it's quite bizarre. So, but now in this brief time, I can only talk to you about so much. So I'm going to talk about a certain tribe called the Monpa tribe, who are located mainly in the West Kameng district of this state. Now, before I get to the tribe, let me give you a short background on the district. So the West Kameng and the Tawang district make up one of the most popular tourism circuits in the whole of the Northeast. Often, when you're discussing this region with your friends, your family, you will probably chance across this Buddhist trail to Tawang with stories of war and high altitude lakes and snowy peaks. Tawang is already quite a famous destination. However, today we're going to be talking about a slightly lesser known destination which is on the way to Tawang. There's a place called Dirang, and half an hour off that is this small village called Sangti in Sangti Valley. We've got no hotels there, we've got no guest houses there. It's just mainly a few homestays right now and a little bit of camping that happens. If you go to the next slide, you'll see the village. Julie, if you could. So yeah, there it is. That's Sangti Valley. It's pretty much, as you can see, it's like a painting from school with the mountains and the meandering river that flows through it. It's quite a stunning destination. A natural destination. It's a good option for people who want to get away from the hustle bustle and the concrete that Dirang has. You have to pass Dirang anyway when you're going to Tawang. You will be stopping over, so you might as well stay in a more natural destination if your interests are such. So now Sangti is basically a Monpa village. There are two more tribes in this region. That's the Aka and the Sherdukpen. But the Monpa in this region, they are the major tribe. So we'll talk a little about them. The Monpa have, like many other tribes, they have an extremely rich cultural heritage. Theirs has been influenced over centuries by, so on the eastern flank, we've got the Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan. Up north, we've got Tawang and then subsequently Tibet. So that's where these cultures have come in over many, many years, and they've shaped who the Monpa are today. That being understood, now if you go to the next slide here, so here you'll see this is a picture taken during Losar of the Monpa performing in what is the most popular form of dance drama in the region. It's a depiction of the Ramayana with its origin in Tibet. It's called the Aji Lamu dance. Now this beautiful dance is done by 5 performers, and these 5 performers, it's a high energy performance, and it goes on. What's really amazing about it is it goes on for over almost 12 hours. They start early morning and in the evening, and they take just one break for lunch. So it's quite amazing to see how these people that have been practicing this entire story and very coordinated. It's a beautiful performance. So this picture was taken in February. That's when Losar happens. Losar is the most important festival for the Monpa. It is the Lunar New Year. That's the calendar that they follow. Right now we're in the year 2147, which is the year of the rat. So anyway, so this dance is just one of the elements of the many different things of their cultural heritage, right? But now to provide for immersive, responsible tourism in the village, if you go to the next slide, Julie, please. So here you'll see how we've identified few elements of their cultural heritage, and we've curated experiences around them so as to educate not only the travelers who come to make their experience better, but what these do is they also add to preserving these local traditions and the traditional knowledge among the young guides who are now getting an incentive to hold on to their culture. So I'll just go over these elements with you. So the first one is a very interesting element. It's called shuk shuk, the paper making that you see here. It's basically made the same way that the Egyptians would make it, from the papyrus plant. They go to the forest, they peel off the barks of this plant. It's called the shuk shuk in the local language. Pulp it, boil it, and then they make, with a screen, they make it's a slightly thinner, it's beautiful looking paper. The paper has been mainly used for very long in monasteries, for scriptures, for religious writings. But now with the demand going down, it's very sad to see how most of the people have now given up this art, and there are under 10 people that we have identified in the entire region, not just in Sangti, but in the entire region, that are still practicing this art. So now we've turned it into a workshop. So not only are the locals taking interest when they're seeing us from outside coming and making the paper, but then now they have more incentive to hold on to something that makes up their identity, right? So that's paper making. Then we move on to foraging and local cuisine. So you see the Monpa, like a lot of other tribes in this entire region in the Northeast, they've grown up interacting with nature, right? So when you're going on a walk with them, it's very interesting to go beyond the beautiful rivers, go beyond the mountains, and actually understand their in-depth knowledge of plants and how they interact with nature. So what we do with our guests is we go for a walk, collect some plants which are edible, medicinal, come back home, and then we cook. We have cooking workshops, and we cook some traditional recipes. So here you'll see a video where we're making some traditional local noodles with a chirshing. It's a machine. It's a mechanism, wooden mechanism that they used to use traditionally. And momos. You just go through the video. This happened in February again. I'm not sure if the video is playing right now, but I'll still talk a little about the cooking. So chirshing is, you use this wooden thing, you put the dough, it's got holes in it, and it goes through. So is the presentation playing? So anyway, it goes through, and then you slightly thicker noodles, and it's quite an immersive experience, because not only are you learning about local recipes and local culture, but you also have interactions and stories.
So he's currently making. You can make more than one. Oh, okay.
Someone make one for me also.
आप लोग एक एक बना के देखिए कितना बड़ा
Minus.
too big smaller
That's why
चलो I don't need that
So yeah, that's pretty much cooking, and this happened in February again during Losar. So moving past cooking now, I'm going to hold on to Buddhist flag printing and bamboo weaving. Let's talk about incense stick making. So the Monpa, they're a Buddhist. They're Buddhist by faith, and there are a lot of monasteries. Every village has a monastery. Every household has a prayer room. So in their daily lives, they use a lot of incense, which is it's quite different from the incense that we normally see in the markets. It's a coreless with a bamboo core. That core is not there. And this again goes back. So there's only one center in the entire region. There's only one center called the Chilipam Monastery. It's again a monastery. And we go there to actually learn a little more. Again, it goes back to in-depth understanding of plants, right? So we learn more about how these monks go around the year, different altitudes, different seasons, and they're collecting over 100 plants. They're collecting over 100 plants, and they're drying, putting them together, and then making these incense sticks. So you can actually make it with them, and you get to understand how the locals have interacted with nature for so long and depended on nature for so long. That being said, then there are, of course, we've got treks, village walks, and cycling. So when it comes to these three, it's basically interest-based. Now, you might be interested more in architecture, you might be interested more in food. So based on your interests, we'll take you around. So the village walks and cycling is around the village, of course. And then hiking, there's something for everybody. You could want to go on a hike, which is a day tour. There are much longer, intense 7-day treks, like the historic Bailey Trail, the Nagajiji Trail. You can go up to the mouth of quite a few, the sources of the rivers. And it's a great experience that can be there for the adventurous. Then we'll move here. If you see to this on the screen right now, I'm going back to bamboo weaving and traditional flag printing. So bamboo weaving, again, having depended on nature for so long, the Monpa have been making they have very intricate weaves when it comes to making their daily products, like their baskets, their lunch box when they're going to the field for agriculture. They're carrying these baskets with them, and they've been depending. So you actually get a chance, you sit, you have some rice beer, enjoy your alcohol. It's quite strong, by the way, the Monpa alcohol, I must warn you. So you're making these baskets, and you can take it back for your family. It's quite an interesting experience.
Dave,
Now,
shall we
again,
move
another
on?
interesting... Hello? I'll just talk about, I can't, it seems to be stuck on my screen, but I'm just going to continue talking. Hello? Julie, can we go back to the...
Dave, can we move on?
to the next, to special interest tours?
Hello?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Julie? I'll quickly just conclude. So anyway, these are just some elements. I'm sure we'll discover more along the way, and I hope once everything gets fine, we'll hope to see you this side and explore more of these. Anyway, with that, I'll conclude with how to get there and times to visit. So between October and March is the best times. Winters are too cold. Peak winters, December gets too cold. So come prepared accordingly. These are high altitudes. You could be going from 5,000 feet to 14,000 feet in a couple of hours. You have to drive here from Guwahati. It's almost 9 hours. It's a long journey, but trust me, it's worth it. And that's about it. So with that, Tashi Delek, and thank you.
Hello, am I audible? I hope so. What would the special scope be? You talked about destination, we talked about activities, population required, the activities involved, the destination goal, how long would you need? For that, we covered make two itineraries. One covers the Western region, Assam and Meghalaya, the other Manipur. The Western regions of Meghalaya are focused on a larger duration, food-centric. You will start at the airport, which is in Guwahati, and carry on to Manas. Manas has the national park there. And here you can, apart from a food-centric holiday, you could also to the wildlife, because the Manas National Park borders the kingdom of
Julie, are we showing a video? Hello? Julie, are we showing a video or are we, the screen seems to have frozen. Yeah, there we are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Sorry, I think I lost connection for a bit there. Well, I'm in the IT capital of Bangalore, and that happens. Anyway, we've talked about destinations and activities. Let me run you through what a special interest tour would look like. Suppose your interest was food and you came there. How long would you need? What is the duration? What activities could you cover? You would probably, on a 9-night, 10-day, cover about 4 destinations. Activities, apart from it being food centric, you could, do a bit of wildlife, rafting. Manas is a destination I've chosen, which is close to Guwahati. Guwahati has the airport, it's 3.5 hours away. It borders Bhutan. The tribe that live here are the Boro tribe. They're the original inhabitants of the region. Then near Bongaigaon are the Sottabari. Sottabari has the largest cottage industry in Assam, which is not textile, but it is bell metal utensils. They make bell metal utensils. They're quite lovely to see these workshops, all set up in the courtyards or backyards of people's homes, surrounded by arecanut trees and bamboo. So you can buy directly from them, do a workshop with them. The next destination would be Tura, which is the home of the Garo tribe in Meghalaya. This region is hilly and is known for its cash crop farms. It's quite lovely to visit the cash crop farms and pluck directly, see how they cultivate. And they live very in harmony with nature. The beautiful waterfalls there to go for picnics and little treks. And along the way, when you're going up the hill, the farmers sell their produce of the day in the roadside. It could be different kinds of pumpkin, lots of lemon, cashew, pepper. Now they've introduced coffee too. So lots of products are there. So you buy from there and you visit these villages' homes, the village homes located in the interiors. And the interesting thing about these homes, where you go, you host and you cook together, it could be in the courtyard or inside their home, is that this region doesn't use oil or spices. They use leaves and herbs to flavor their food, to make it more sour, more pungent. It's very interesting, especially in today's day where we're concerned about health and how we cook. That. On the way back to Guwahati, there are 2 stops. One is by the Kulsi River to see the river dolphins and do a cooking class there of Assamese food. The other is this very little known fact that people really don't know, is Darangiri, which is the largest wholesale mandi market for bananas in the whole of Asia. Is located there. On a shorter duration, Manipur I've chosen for textile. You land in Imphal. Imphal is, has a lot of museums. It has a lot of art galleries, a lot of designer restaurants. and also NGO projects, one of which hires 100 backstrap loom weavers, which is located nearby. To visit them, it's quite lovely to interact with them. You can even have a meal there. I think Manipur, because of its long, royal patronage, their art, the art and culture, their performances, their textile, their ritual practices are very fine. They're high level of finesse. And that's why I chose Manipur as a destination for textile. Though then there are a lot of tribes and the Meitei community. The Meitei community is best seen, the work of theirs is best seen in Bishnupur. Bishnupur is also the location where the first Hindu temple was set up in Manipur. It's a Govinda temple, a small terracotta structure. There they weave these, I'm wearing one, these beautiful gauze, fine, you can see how fine this is, silk dupattas that they call Rani Fi. And this pattern on the edge is called a Moirang Fi, which has these very intricate weaves in it. I hope you can see that. So it's really nice to see that. The extracurricular activity here could be a visit to Kaibu Lamjam National Park. It's the world's only floating sanctuary, and the deer is found exclusively here. You can do a canoe ride with forest officials here. Another interesting place nearby is Moirang. Moirang is the first, the first time the Indian tricolor flag was hoisted was here on Indian soil. It was hosted elsewhere first, but on Indian soil, this is the first place it was hoisted. The next destination would be Churachandpur. It's home to the Zao or the Kuki community. The women there, I call them memory keepers because they weave these intricate patterns in these backstrap looms. They have nothing written, there's no drawing. It's how do these traditional patterns get passed on? It's when the mothers and daughters weave together. To be there, it's heartwarming to be there in that moment to see them do this. The daughter's imitating the mother and she's copying the pattern, and that's how she picks it up. It's really beautiful. Asia is defined by markets. So on the way back, when you reach Imphal, you might want to visit Imaketen. It's a 300-year-old market where you get exotic fruits, flowers, handmade knives, baskets of all sorts, all handmade, natural fiber, and an array of textiles. It's run by a married woman, exclusively run by married women. That whole market, there's no, all the vendors there are women. Yeah, so that would be a special interest tour. Among a food tour, the most interesting thing about a food tour is doing workshops, cooking workshops or demonstrations in villages throughout the Northeast. I was talking about River Kulsi. You can see the image on the right-hand side. That's the setting. It's so pretty. It's such a lovely setting. In the center, you'll see men using these bamboo sleeves. The Northeast, we use a lot of bamboo sleeves to grill meat and vegetable to give it a smoky flavor. I've actually included that image on the top left-hand corner of my, I'm holding fiddlehead fern to bust this myth that the Northeast doesn't have vegetables. We have a lot of vegetables and a lot of greens. Fiddlehead fern and mustard greens are common throughout the Northeast and cooked in different forms. But to me, the most treasured moment of this experience is after the cooking is done, when the entire village or part of the village, everybody gets together with you and we are eating. That's when all the stories come alive, the myths, the gossips. And for that moment, for that hour or so, you are part of the same canvas. Isn't that lovely? I really think it is. Textile is a passion for me. I learned to weave at the age of 8 in Assam with my grandmother. Reluctantly at the age of 8, but thank God my grandmother was, she was a tyrant in those days and she forced it. Let me take you to a video. Before that, I would like to say that weaving in the Northeast is women-centric. And most weavers, every village if you go, there'll be, every home will have a loom. Unfortunately, in the urban areas, it's, disappearing. But it's mainly for personal use and not for commercial use. Let's do a video there. To really understand a product or an artisan's sensibility, aesthetics, you need to spend time in that environment, in that society, to really feel it, to see it. Hands-on demonstrations show you the love for the craft, the amount of labor that goes in. It explains to you why a particular thing was created. It's the region, is a lot dictates it. This part of the tours are normally very popular, especially among our women guests, where after a demonstration of how it's woven or created or set together, you wear the costume, you put on the headgear, you wear the jewelry. Then it's a holistic experience. You understand why it was created, what it like, you know. So without, let's move on to the next destination. I think we've lost a bit of time there. Sikkim, and I hand over to Pincho.
Thank you, Julie. Very good morning to all. And let me first start off by saying that it's a very nice, cool 14 degrees where I am. I'm actually feeling cold. So I hope I can get a couple of people envious about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about Sikkim as a destination, and try and bring together the entire concept of ecotourism. That is something that I've been given the distinct pleasure of trying to do that. Really quickly, Sikkim is one of the smallest states in India, right? We're barely 7,096 square kilometers in landmass. And we border Nepal on one flank, Bhutan on the other, and Tibet on the other. So we've surrounded on all sides. Okay, and of course, the huge eastern Himalayan range. And of course, barring Assam, I think it's probably one of the heaviest tourist footfall regions in the Northeast. Okay. And in terms of people, I mean, of course, my colleagues have spoken a lot about, the communities and the tribes. Very basically put, Sikkim has three distinct communities, the Bhutias, the Lepchas, and the Nepali. And I'm not going to get too much into detail of that because I'd like to cover some other topics as we talk about Sikkim today, right? So today, like I mentioned, we're going to focus a little bit more on sustainable travel and on ecotourism. And I would like to focus a bit more on the things to do in Sikkim on those lines. Yeah. What are we famous for? What do people come to Sikkim for mostly? And I would say that's usually the first thing would be landscapes, the beautiful, dramatic, and varied topography that Sikkim has. And of course, our monuments, a lot of old monasteries in Sikkim, right? And the two major sects of Tibetan Buddhism in Sikkim are the Kagyu and the Nyingma, of course. Julie, if you could just move on to the next slide, please. Yeah, so yes, very striking pictures again here. Let me start off by saying that on the big picture on the left-hand side, that's Yumthang Valley. That's wild primula and yak, and it's a picture postcard, right? This is in the North District of Sikkim. Very, very beautiful, very popular also from visitors. On the right-hand side, on the top side, we see those are the winding loops of Zuluk. This is in Eastern Sikkim and very popular again for visitors. This is actually the old Silk Route, the Indo-Tibet trading that used to happen. And it's believed that the name Zuluk actually means, load your musket. So that the invading, let's say the British forces that were coming up from the lower hills were met with some resistance by the Tibetan forces in the top of the hill. So that's how apparently the area got its name, Zuluk. Very beautiful and located around 13,000 feet, and that's one of the highest places that I know of in where you can actually spend the night, you can actually stay here. So very picturesque, very beautiful. And of course, popular destinations in Sikkim also means that, we've veered a lot into mass tourism. And interestingly now, the region is getting a lot more into trying to spread out, let's say, travel into lesser known destinations across Sikkim, because every nook and corner has so much to show and so much to do, right? So let me just break it up also really quickly into 4 districts. We have the west of Sikkim, which is known for the magnificent views of the mountains. Kanchenjunga, the 3rd highest peak in the world, is viewable from almost every corner in West Sikkim, right? The south are known mostly for organic farms, which Sikkim is known widely for now, organic produce. The east, which is where Gangtok, the capital city where I'm speaking from right now, is located. And of course, North Sikkim is one of the more dramatic and the very, very beautiful region of Sikkim, and also located at a much higher altitude in general. Okay. And I won't get into too much details, like I mentioned, in terms of destinations and experiences like my colleagues did. Okay. But I would like to cover more on a broader scope of ecotourism experiences in Sikkim. Okay. So if we can get on to the next slide, Julie, please. I'm going to talk about a really quick description on the pillars of ecotourism. Well, very simply put, I would like to say that this is engagement in the travel and tourism industry by being very sensitive to local culture, its preservation, of course, the protection and preservation of the environment, and basically finding a sustainable livelihood, through all of these pillars, right? It is, I would like to connect this being very closely linked to homestays, okay? And homestays in which how we can spread out footfall, like I mentioned. Every destination in the country will be having a similar issue of having a lot of people visit one particular area at a time. So this is the concept that we are trying to look at in the Northeast and in Sikkim, definitely, of how we can decongest our very heavily congested areas. Okay, Julie, next slide, please. So homestays. The definition pretty simple. I mean, a few extra rooms that you have in your home and you let out to host guests, visitors. Sikkim at least has about 1,300 registered homestays, and they are the key. They are the key to ecotourism experiences in Sikkim. Okay, your hosts are experienced hosts, hospitable. They can be your travel companions, your guides. Folk tales, sharing local knowledge, indigenous knowledge, and even culinary secrets, right? Let me just quickly get on through this screen. On your left-hand side, the picture that I'm holding a Tibetan carpet there. So that is a homestay in North Sikkim in Lachin. The Tibetan carpet is interestingly, in these parts, very, very few people are doing it now. The gentleman next to me there, it is his mom who actually did, the weave for this carpet. And there are very, very few ladies who are into this anymore. The carpets are very expensive. And the Tibetan weave carpets are known to be among the strongest in the world, surpassing even the Persian carpets for that matter, right? So an experience like this in a homestay, for example. On your right at the top, that's a 150-year-old lecture home. And that's a homestay in the capital city of Gangtok. Very simple, very beautiful, and located 10 minutes walking distance from the heart of the city, right? And on your bottom, that's again an eco lodge in Western Sikkim. And I think what is important here is that homestays in Sikkim in these parts, they cater to almost everybody. Like you can have an 800 rupee per day with all meals included to an 8,000 rupee per day, which means a fussy traveler or a very adventurous traveler. There's something for everybody. Okay, and it's a great way to travel. Yeah. And also, I mean, I think it's intrinsically linked to sustainable travel because you find yourself in pristine locations, which would otherwise have been missed if you went to the typical spots, right? Julie, can we have the next slide, please? So I'm trying to look at a way of describing more of an ecotourism experience through some of these pictures here, right? The big picture on the left, that's Chopta Valley. Okay, so Chopta is in North Sikkim, and 90% of people who travel here are actually going to Gurdongmar Lake. Okay, so that's 18,000 feet altitude, one of the highest lakes that you can reach in a vehicle. And very, very popular tourist destination. But people miss out that when you're actually going to Gurdongmar, if you actually step out of your vehicle and walk 2 minutes down the road, you can have this entire huge valley with oxbow lakes all to yourself, with numerous, more than 12, 13 varieties of wild rhododendron and alpine plant and animal species here. The famous cobra lily, for example, too, right? Similarly, on your right-hand side, that's actually a trek to the Lashar Valley. Now, most people coming to Sikkim would have heard, if they've done some research, they talk about treks to the Kanchenjunga base camp, which is very popular. But this in particular is very interesting because the Lashar Valley is really highly underrated, not very difficult to get to. It's located around 14,000 feet in altitude. And the trek it's not just an experience of going on a trek, but it actually lands you at this place called Zachu. Okay, very beautiful location. And it's the summer pasture land, the winter pasture land of the nomadic herdsmen there, known as the Dokpas. So they're the keepers of the yak. Okay, so at this point of time, this particular trek head out at a period called Drukatsechi, and in very simple terms, it's basically when the Dokpas have this really fun activity of what we call a yak race. Now, if anybody has been around yaks enough, you'll know that they're not meant to be ridden. Okay, so they have a mind of their own, and they're really, really, yeah, you cannot ride a yak. So it's really funny once you get up there. So you have these guys riding on a yak, and it's more for bragging rights, and it's just an excuse to have a good time. And so what's interesting is that, a trek like this takes you to an experience like that. And the Dokpas are a dying community because nobody, the lifestyle is too harsh. And they are a very, very crucial component of the ecosystem in these parts. So when we have travelers visiting and experiencing these things with these people here, they realize the importance of, maintaining and upkeeping their culture and their traditions. So that's a beautiful experience up there. And of course, a picture of a typical rhododendron. That's, I think, a rhododendron arboreum. A lot of these flowers, over 40 varieties of wild rhododendron you can see in a mix of these photos across this slide, right? Julie, can we have the next slide, please? I think with that, I'd like to wrap up with a video. And thank you. And I hope it's a very, very short time that I had to talk about Sikkim here, but do come visit the Northeast soon. Thank you.
That brings us end to the presentation. Sorry about the inconvenience. I think 3 minutes we lost because my internet connection was poor. Ironic, we thought it would be David's in Nagaland whose connection would go, but it happened to be mine sitting in Bangalore. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you so much for making the time to attend it. And hopefully it'll influence your travel to the Northeast. Yeah. A special thanks to the Ministry of Tourism. We really appreciate being given this platform. Ms. Bra, Ms. Mehta, Ms. Sharma, Mr. Rangarajan, Mr. Rao, and your team. It's such a positive message, especially during the days of lockdown, to create this platform for travel in India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear presenters. I think it's been a phenomenal webinar today, and I'm sure a lot of us are already packing our bags, listening to 14 degrees. I was freezing. Delhi is at 47. A lot of questions have come in. Some I've tried to answer along, but some I would like to ask some of you. That people have asked that the transport access to Itanagar from and also to Tawang. Would one of you take that?
Yeah, I'll take that. So the transport access to Tawang, you have to go by road. You set off from Guwahati, the two ways. From Tezpur is a bad road. I don't suggest you take that right now. You go from Orang side, and it'll take you around 9 hours to get to Sangti, and then an additional 5 hours to get to Tawang. Now, Itanagar, though it's the capital and it's in Arunachal Pradesh, it's a big state, right? So you have to come back to Assam and then go back to the Tawang side. So actually, it'll take you 12 hours to go from Itanagar all the way back. You come down to Tezpur and then you go back all the way to Sangti. So because it is a mountainous region, you cannot just cut across the state. You have to come all the way back and go back up. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. The other question is about that how many days are sufficient to visit Nagaland? Would one of you like to answer that?
I would. Well, ma'am, in Nagaland, um, see, there are a lot of districts. There are 11 districts, and if you want to visit the lesser traveled areas of Nagaland, then maybe 2 weeks is a good time to do it. But if you're just coming in into Kohima and the surrounding areas, then I think a 6 day, 7 day tour is a good time to do it. Ma'am, you are on mute.
Thanks for reminding me. People wanted to know about Hornbill, that when does Hornbill Festival happen and is there enough accommodation to go by?
The Hornbill Festival starts on the 1st of December and goes up to the 10th of December every year. And well, there is accommodation. From 2 years back, we have actively, very aggressively promoted homestays and tenting accommodation. So there is more or less enough for people coming in. Of course, you have to compromise a little bit on the quality of accommodation, but I think there is enough beds to go around for people.
Also, another question on our tour again is Sankti between Diwang and Tawang. And can one go from Dibrugarh or does one need to go from Guwahati?
No, so again, from Dibrugarh, it's a different entrance to Arunachal Pradesh. You have to come around from Guwahati, it's much closer, yes. So from Dibrugarh, you have to go through Tezpur again. And Sankti is not between Dirang and Tawang. Sankti is 12 kilometers off Dirang. So you have to take a detour and you'll be there in 12 kilometers. There would take you around half an hour. So yeah, it's not really in between, but it's right beside Dirang.
Okay. Now, somebody had a very interesting question on this whole thing that we are talking about, the vocal for local and encouraging local arts, craft forms to be not only maintained, but actually to become mainstays of livelihood. That can the paper, which is made by the Mompas, can it be turned into plates and glasses? And would that not be so good to be recycled then?
See, the paper is a very thin paper. We've actually been exploring what else we can do with it apart from just the scriptures that it's used for. I'm not too sure about plates and glasses because it is a very thin paper. Maybe if you put a lot of it together, but then it's handmade paper, so it again gets a little expensive that way. But definitely you can use it in things like lampshades. That's something that we've been working on, lampshades and little booklets, maybe to sketch on and things like that. Because it is a very thin paper. It's not completely opaque in the sense, when you write on it, the other side, kind of, you can see it. Hello? Can you hear me?
Ma'am, you're on mute.
Yeah, I think ma'am is on mute. Huh?
I'm so glad that I am also struggling today with technology. I need to start traveling and not be on technology for so long now.
Yeah, I was so worried about David and, because of this cyclone and everything in Sikkim, but it seems to be Delhi and Bangalore that has the problem.
Yes, we hope, Amphan, of course, has wreaked so much havoc in West Bengal and particularly in Calcutta and the southern part of Bengal. We hope that there is going to be recovery out of that soon. I believe yesterday also there was a lot of rain and thunderstorm. So we hope that nature is going to be kind. Already the world is struggling, in fact, with the COVID impact and Corona. And we hope that very soon we should all be, safer and COVID will be behind us. We can not only travel, but also resume our normal life activities. But in the meantime, the best way we can showcase to you our incredible country is by bringing you on screen with the presenters from all over the country and showcasing the beautiful elements of our country. So therefore, I'm going to say a thank you to Julie, Pinso, Devraj, David at this juncture. for bringing such amazing elements. I've got a very good feedback for today's webinar. The presentations, the pictures, the trails, everything was very nice. And viewers, in case you have logged on and have seen but want to revisit this webinar or want to refer it to your friends and family, it comes as a repository on the Ministry of Tourism's website later on a YouTube version. So you can keep revisiting these webinars at your leisure. And also when you want to travel and again want to have a look at those fine points, you can surely do that. And we do also hope that you're going to keep joining us as the lockdown opens. We had run a poll a couple of weeks back asking that as lockdowns open, it wouldn't be possible for us to do 3 in a week. So we'll be restricting to 1 a week or maybe 2 a week from next week. But on this Saturday, as we move from the green and the water laden areas of the eastern part of India, we're going to go diametrically opposite to the very, very desert and a marshy kind of a land. These are the salt marsh in the Thar desert in the Kutch region of Gujarat. So very different from where we are today. So enjoy the cold of Northeast today at 14 degrees. And we're going to take you to blistering Thar desert. Comes on Saturday, that is 30th of May, 11 a.m. We are going to be once again logging back to the Dekho Apna Desh webinar series. Thank you so much, NEGD, and thank you so much, viewers. Keep yourself safe, keep yourself healthy, continue to maintain the social distancing, keep washing your hands and take good care of your health, and keep enjoying with us the Dekho Apna Desh. Namaskar, and see you once again on Saturday, the 30th of May, in the heat, the sweltering heat of the Thar desert, 11 a.m. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.